Hello, Warlords. Welcome to Saga Thursday, the show all about the skirmish miniatures game from Studio Tomahawk. I'm your host, Rodge, with another faction review, joined by Tim. How's it going, Tim?
Hello, it's going great. How are you, Rodge?
Excellent. So people may recognize those deep tones from the Activation Pays podcast. So great to have you on. You know, we've had JP plenty of times.
Right.
It's good to have the real star of that show on Saga Thursday. So we're going to be talking Huns today, but why don't you give us, did you play the Huns in the first edition or not? Well, it's first edition rules, but second edition, you know what I'm trying to get at here, bud.
Right. So I think the two important things before we start. I hope that's okay. I'm very not used to speaking into the mic and looking into a camera or looking anywhere really, because we usually do the podcast. So this is definitely new to me.
Okay.
And then sorry for everyone having to hear my opinion on Huns for the millionth time. I know. I've talked about them a lot, but I love them so much.
Yes.
And hope that's okay.
No, I got the right guy here.
Yeah, I think so. I hope so. So I only started playing Saga like a year ago. So
okay.
I have no idea how they worked in the first edition.
Yeah.
I'm definitely not the guy for that. I started playing in 2021. So
okay. Well, what did you come from other miniature games or?
Yeah. I've played a lot of Warhammer and then lots of tournaments there for 40K and enjoyed that. And then I thought, I was asked to just play one test game with a friend of mine. Who also
nice.
he just said play one test game with me, and I loved it. And
awesome.
Here I am.
Yeah, you got the bug. That's cool. So no prior experience. That's good with the old ATs and Arthur stuff. Pure invasions. I'm loving it. And so, what led you to the Huns to get started with them? I guess.
Right. So, I think it's obvious, or people know that by now. I'm very aggressive in my playstyle. Not me as a person, but at least I hope so. But I think my playstyle is very aggressive. I like to be in your face quickly and have some fun, and usually end the games quicker than they should be, that it should end. So that's what I like. And I think, Rodge, you would agree, looking at the Huns, that's definitely what they can do. I'm not sure that's the only thing they can do, but that's definitely what they can do and what I like to do with them. So flipping through,
That's interesting. I would have assumed, not knowing that much, you're thinking people coming from the steppe, they're a shooting faction. But would you say they're a shooting faction, or is that kind of misleading, or they can do both?
I don't think they're a shooting faction. I think they shoot a lot, but that's just extra. That's just bonus.
Mm-hmm.
I think their strength is in their melee, and in their in their warriors and maybe their Hearthguard. And
sure.
So that's what they're good at, I think.
Okay. Well, let's dive into the equipment options. And so we should say, this battle board has a lot of impact out there on the Saga scene, as far as old friends and new enemies goes, because they're both in Vikings and Crusades, and those are slightly different. And if you're knowledgeable about those slight differences, you can bring up here. But for the most part, this is going to cover those as well. So your warlord is going to be mounted on a horse. Hearthguards mounted on horses. Warriors are mounted on horses, equipped with composite bows. So no options until you get to those levies on the bottom there. And kind of blown away by these levy options. No equipment options. Classic. Gotta love it when you see it.
Really
Take
good
advantage. You can be equipped with bows. Again, tasty. And then this blew me away. Being mounted on horses. So I don't think... Is there any other levy mount, maybe an Age of Alexander? Is there anything?
Pagan Rus, I think. Yeah, pagan rest I think can take mounted levies, which
With
you would
the-
never do. Maybe it's not pagan
With
rest.
the legendary warlord, I think they can actually.
Yeah.
I remember looking at that for an event here where we were using them. So, yeah, that is insane. So all the durability of the no equipment option levy with the speed of the horse. So what kind of breakdown are you favoring here between all this? Because we should say that the levies do not count as Huns if we're talking purely the Hun board. So we'll see how many battle board abilities get left behind here, so that could factor in. But what are you kind of favoring here?
So I think the warriors with the composite bows and on horses, they are just what makes up like at least 3 or 4 points of your warband, in my opinion, because I think they're by far the strongest choice here. They benefit from all the amazing abilities on here because they do count as Huns, and then they are just they're more durable than the Hearthguard with composite bows that you can take with the step people.
Okay, so there's a difference there.
Yeah.
That's Age of Vikings, right?
Yeah, that's Age of Vikings. And then for the Cumans, the levies can take javelins, and they do count as Huns for all the battleboard abilities. I think people have heard about that before.
Yeah,
I've been vocal about it for sure.
The word's out there.
Yeah, so having levies that count as Huns is incredibly broken, and I think we can talk about it later, but there's just some ability combos on here that should not work, but they do. And yeah, so
okay. So we're looking at 3 or 4 points of warriors. Are you thinking like a point of Hearthguard then, and then the rest levies, or?
Yeah, that's what I've been doing. I think the point of Hearthguard is important because your warlord is definitely very, very powerful with the abilities on here. I guess, depending on how the bonus dice discussion goes, because you can easily go up to like 21 dice. Your warlord himself, and then so can your Hearthguard, and so they're important to keep the wallet safe. And
definitely. So that warlord on a horse, can be, obviously he's fast. You can keep him out of trouble, but if they can get to him, they're kind of significantly weaker with not being able to close ranks, and then the lower armor against shooting.
Yeah, for sure.
Can really, just a couple of attacks, composite bow unit or something, if they can shoot and fight, can really do a number on the warlord.
Yeah.
So having those Hearthguard there makes sense. Now the levies on foot, do you have a preference here? Do you got all 3 of them lined up on the board, looking at the opponent and the scenario and deciding there, or do you have a go-to?
Yeah, the levies on horses, I think they look amazing on paper, and I'm sure people can make them work, but I can't.
Interesting. Okay, so like the local, this guy Charles played him at Adepticon, and when he came up to Saga Storm, so he had 2 units of mounted levy in his list, and there's that one ability there.
Yeah.
Obvious combo, very scary. So that's interesting. So what do you find that's like not working with the mounted levy for you?
Yeah, I think the warriors are just stronger. Like 1 point of warriors, in my opinion, is stronger than 1 point of the levies, because they can shoot and they can also fight. Like they can shoot and they can fight better, because the 8 warriors will provide 8 attacks.
More aggression, yep.
Yeah. And of course the levies are more durable, but they're also harder to activate. And if you really want to mass activate, like I like to have like 7-8 activations per turn with this board. So
dang, nice.
I don't think you can make it like happen with the levies. Okay. And then the levies with sword and board with no equipment are just amazing to be put into six-man units and just generate dice in like solid cover. They will never get attacked, never. Like
yeah, that's a good point. Just so demoralizing trying to go after one of those.
Yeah.
So I hear ya. Cool. Well, you've set the scene in our minds for the army you're deploying here. So let's jump down to the battle board, and up top we got all the usual business there. So we'll just get down to the first of the abilities. This is Rain of Arrows. It's orders. I believe those swords are a common die on the Eastern dice set there. Till the end of the turn, enemy units count as having an additional fatigue when determining the effects of your saga abilities. So this is a little clue at what we're in for here. I believe every ability has some fatigue mechanic, except maybe that levy one. Is that right? It all hinges on fatigue for the most part with the Huns, right?
Yeah. I mean, yes. Just yes. That's what they do. That's what we do. Yeah. That's the ability Rain of Arrows can definitely be worth it by like a long shot if you play at least like 2 or 3 abilities that profit from having more fatigue. So this is amazing.
Okay. Yeah, so this is kind of like, the Anglo-Saxon numbers boost, for their mechanics based off numbers. This is the same kind of thing. So, so are you using this like early game to like pretend they have a fatigue, or is this for when they're exhausted, I want to pretend they have a 4th fatigue?
Right.
Kind of deal.
So my warbands usually have 7 provide 7 saga dice, and so first turn I'll put 1 die down here that I won't use, and kind of set the scene for me, or prepare for the second turn, and then second turn I can roll 7 dice and have that one there already.
Yeah, ready to go.
So that's what I like to do. 1 in the beginning, and then 1 when I need it later.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that sounds good to me. I'm always a fan of loading the board up. I think that's kind of a difference between a saga noob and a saga veteran, is knowing when to save something for a future turn. So I like that play very much. All right, let's pop down.
Yes.
First juicy one. Death comes from above, my friend. Common and uncommon shooting ability. Enemy unit takes a fatigue after the shooting attack has been resolved. Ooh, so nice. No conditions attached. You don't have to sneak a wound through. You don't have to swap out a casualty for that fatigue. They just take it. That's awesome.
Yeah. This is... I think this... You play this... I've probably played this every turn. Probably not, but almost. Warlords will hate this. Anything with resilience will hate this. Elephants will hate this.
Oh, yeah.
So, and this also combos so well with encirclement and lassos later. So when we talk about that, this is having 1 additional fatigue to play around with, to swap around throughout the enemy units, is just amazing.
Yeah, this is huge. I mean, every unit hates this about it. Nobody wants to take a fatigue. It's a common, uncommon, so it's going to happen. Yeah, I could definitely see every turn of every game. If you're player 2, and they're in range. Maybe not first turn, but and especially with your combos coming up here, gotta love it. Great ability. I would pay a saga dice any day of the week to get a fatigue on the enemy. During your turn, no conditions. Don't need to hit. Yeah, love it.
So
all right. Panic. Okay. Uncommon and a rare. We're seeing that horse up there. Activation and reaction. Trigger this when an enemy unit activates within medium of one of your units of Huns, but before it's resolved, that unit takes a fatigue. Come on, man. We just had a fatigue. If you use a rare, you can re-roll it and place it on your board somewhere juicy. So they have to be within medium at the start of the activation is the key. So you can move into medium, but then when you try to activate again to charge those guys, for example, you just take a fatigue. Come on. What's the deal there?
Yeah. It's just this is good for a number of reasons, because into cavalry armies this will probably not come into play because they can just stay out of medium and then charge you still without taking the fatigue. But for infantry armies, it's very easy to stay out of range, and when they do try to like triple activate to get to you, they usually be there with one fatigue at the start of their like charge, and then you give them another one and immediately can use both of these fatigues to cancel the charge. So you're safe for another turn, which is incredibly good.
Yeah, that's awesome. I like this, especially too with those composite bull warriors. You know, sometimes this way you can just kind of leave them within medium of the enemy. You have another tool to kind of mitigate the charge. So instead of always running away, you could kind of leave a unit next to the enemy.
For sure.
And you could, you know, if you're over short, but within the medium, you know, you could still cancel it because reducing their movement to short would also cancel that charge. So I like this. Gives a nice little warm blanket to those composite bow warriors. Keep them a little safer. How does this rare stack up for you? Are we going to see some better rare options or not?
Right. So for the, I think there's better rare options here if you play the Huns. If you play the Cumans and everyone counts as Huns, even the levies, then I think later on we'll see that there's another very good option. But
okay.
But yeah, usually my rare goes into activations down the line. I think we'll see that very soon. And then if I have 3 rares, then maybe one goes into panic. But I like the activation pool to play after I played Rain of Arrows because that die is going to be free.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. The timing on this is interesting. I mean, there are other abilities like this, but they're usually abilities that you trigger on your own turn. And so you're playing your turn, you trigger it, you get the die, and then you keep going. This is during the opponent's turn. You know, it's not even at the start. It's not an orders ability. You know, it's, so at some point in the turn, you'll trigger this, and then you'll decide at that time, you know, where the die is going to go. So it's kind of interesting. You know, you could kind of try to gear up for the next turn, you know, depending what's going on, or try to stave off an attack. You got a little flexibility there, but sounds like this is probably second or third in the queue as far as the rares go.
Third, yeah. I think so, yeah.
Third, solid third.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's go down to the Endless Horde 2-die ability here. Okay, now this has got to be pretty good. Activation phase, you guys have a pretty high standard for 2-dice abilities here. You don't like a lot of them, I noticed. That's right. So this is a common and uncommon. Activate up to 3 units for a movement. Okay, I can see right off the bat we're getting some value here. And these activations don't generate a fatigue for units of Huns. So this is a fatigue mechanic on the flip side here, keeping your boys fresh.
Yep.
So this is specifically a movement. So you're not going to setting up, you know, double move charges with this necessarily. You got to be using this every turn here. What, is there a catch?
Yeah, every turn. And the only catch there is, if you, and I hope when he sees this, Hamza can have a laugh because he has been on recently, I think. And
yep, Saracen review just a month ago.
Yeah, because I played my Cumans into him, Hun board, everything looking good, and then turn 1 I couldn't place advanced saga abilities. Turn 2 I rolled only commons. So 7 commons.
Yeah, that'll happen every once in a while.
And then turn 3 I rolled only uncommons. So 7 uncommons.
2 turns without the Endless Horde. Ooh,
yeah.
Gotta be rough.
So that's the only catch. It's an amazing ability. I play it every turn. I built my army just around this ability because it's so good. It's incredible.
Yeah. So it was some crazy dice there, but essentially, you know, you should be getting this off every turn. And yeah, amazing ability. If you want to do some hit and run stuff, move in with your die, wheel bay, whatever have you, shoot up and then scoot off with the Endless Horde. Love it.
I mean, that's one way. But what I usually end up doing is I run up, shoot, use the Endless Horde on all my units that are in the front line just to move them for half an inch so everyone can shoot again. And then use the next ability for a charge. And I think the next weak spot is up next.
Okay. Let's take a look at that one. Weak spot. Ooh, another 2 dice.
Yeah.
2 dice abilities, one right after the other, right on the board. You don't see that too often. Uncommon and a rare, though, so could be frustratingly difficult to get at times, I'm sure. Activate up to 2 units of Hunt. Wow, another multi-activation here. If they're activated to charge, 2 bonus attack dice per fatigue on the enemy unit. If they're activated to shoot, they get 1 bonus attack die. How does this? Oh, you can do any activation you want, but if you charge or shoot, you get a bonus.
Yep.
It's cool. Yeah, you could still run away if you want. You probably wouldn't use an uncommon and a rare for that, but you got some flexibility there. Oh, wow. Yeah, this is some tasty stuff right here, my friend.
I'm not sure how to like clearly communicate how good this is.
Yeah, so let's think about it, So you can pretend they have 1 more fatigue than they do normally.
Yes.
On turn 2 or 3, that's probably happening. You're putting a fatigue on them guaranteed with the second ability we discussed. Yeah. Essentially. So they're going to have at least 2, so that's at least 4 bonus attack dice. You have other ways to get fatigues on there, as we'll see, and then there's the old-fashioned way of just engaging them in melee with something. So I could definitely see how that extra fatigue from that first ability, I'd pop that to get 2 more attacks on this. So you have 8 warriors going with 16 attacks. That's some berserker level ferocity, my friend.
Yeah. It's incredible. So for the 1 Rain of Arrow die, this is going to be 2 units activating like this. So that 1 die you spent gives you 4 bonus dice because 2 units are going to charge usually.
Oh, yeah.
And
well worth
4 bonus dice for a common is, damn, that's so good. And that's not the only thing that makes the Rain of Arrows very good. There's more abilities coming. Yeah.
So you've got probably at least 2, 3, or 4 situations that will be significantly improved through the Rain of Arrows there.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's awesome. So, the shooting isn't bad either, depending on what's going on here. I guess, when do you charge versus when do you go for a shot?
Right. I don't think I've ever used this for a shot.
Yeah, it's not decisive,
and because the composite bow rules, they allow you to shoot for free anyway, always, but you can never have 2 consecutive shots. Yeah. That's basically never going to be worth it to spend an uncommon and a rare for like maybe 2 extra shots, 3 extra shots when you can have the 6 shots for free anyway.
Yeah, so depending on the size of the units, you're going to be running into that 8 dice cap anyways.
Yeah,
with the shooting potentially. Yeah. It could be good for those cheeky cumin levies as we move up, move up for free with that prior ability, and then shoot.
Yeah.
At that point, you probably just charge them in.
You absolutely would. Charging them in is because with this, usually levies with javelins only have like 4 attacks when they charge in. But with this, they can double that, so go up to 8.
Easily,
And then there's abilities on here that will probably let them go up to like get 11 more, but you can't do that. So you definitely go up to 16 attacks.
Attack dice on a unit of 4, starting with 4 attack javelin levy, and gotta love whatever you're trading there. Anybody,
and they'll have the +1 as well usually because all the opponent's closing ranks, and it's never going to hurt those levy. So
tasty stuff here.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's pop up to Encirclement. Uncommon activation ability. Choose 2 of your Hun figures with an L of each other. All enemy units located between these 2 figures take a fatigue. So these are probably 2 different units. Could be the same unit, I think, theoretically.
Yeah.
What's the record for number of units you've placed a fatigue on with this?
That would be 4.
Yeah. Using that pagan Rus stick, the frozen wind, three's nice, 4's the dream.
Yeah.
5. Oh, you would just have to do it. If you could get 5, you would just have to. screw the battle plan. We're getting 5 fatigues out.
Right. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think this is super good if you can catch the Warlord and even just one other unit with this.
Mm-hmm.
Because with the next ability, the Warlord and Death Comes From Above, which just gives out the free fatigue, it's so easy before even like attacking the Warlord once or shooting him properly once, he's going to have 3 fatigues.
Yeah.
So
this is kind of nuts with Death Comes From Above here.
Yeah.
This is just to put, you can use encirclement. Like we said, you could put a fatigue on one unit. I think for an uncommon die, that's actually worth it. So hitting 2 or 3, obviously is a lot better. But, combining that with Death Comes From Above, you're placing 2 fatigues on a unit. You spent 2 Saga dice, but otherwise you risked nothing to get those fatigues on, and your abilities are so much better with it. So they're outdoing the Danes here on the fatigue. These are the new fatigue masters, man. Yeah. Great ability here.
Really good.
So what is next up here? Lassos.
Yeah.
Uncommon, shooting or melee, Huns only. Take a fatigue from an enemy unit within short, place it on another enemy unit within short of your unit here. So the key thing is your unit is the transfer mechanism here, and you can spread cav out to over along if you're really maximizing it. So you could move a fatigue like 20 inches across the board if you need to. So nobody's saying, I can see how a warlord isn't, a warlord is going to be within 20 inches of his troops. So I can see easily how you get 3 fatigues on that guy before you've done anything. I mean, if the composite bow shots go well, you're done. You don't have to do anything else.
It's really frustrating if the opponent, like, I haven't charged him or shot him. I mean, you do have to shoot for Death Comes From Above, but even though that usually doesn't do anything. And if it does, cool. It's
just another. Well, you can use lassos somewhere else then.
Yeah, cool. I don't mind.
Or the other one, encirclement, it could be used elsewhere. If you do get those lucky bow shots through. So this is funny.
This is really good. This is really, really good. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then also sometimes it happens that people just take a fatigue on their levy to, I don't know, charge them in to provide some fatigue on me. Then it's just one guy left, for example, with 1 fatigue. That unit with 1 fatigue is going to be worth a lot to me because I can just take the fatigue and put it anywhere I want to and charge like a big 12-man block of warriors, and they suddenly will have a fatigue that they didn't have before just because that one levy they have didn't die when it should have. So
yeah, it kind of works against it, because you're going to wipe out that little unit anyway. You don't need the fatigue on that little unit to spend on that little unit to kill it. It's kind of a pointless fatigue, but this, slide it on over and then still mow down that little levy or last warrior or whatever anyways.
Just with your free composite bow shoot.
Yep. Oh man, loving it.
Yeah.
All right, fears our armor up next. Common, uncommon, shooting reaction or melee, Huns only. Gain a defense die. Gain 2 additional defense die for each fatigue on the enemy unit. So you could use this for some shooting defense, but the idea of going in with 8 defense dice when you're gaining 8 attack dice for weak spot seems pretty good if you work both of those in.
And then I even one up myself by bringing the Wolves of the Steppe, which is the next ability for more attacks. But this if you play it right with your Hearthguard, this is a common for 9 defense dice. 1 common for 9 defense dice, because you gain 1 defense die, and then if the opponent's exhausted, so they have 3 fatigues, and you have Rain of Arrows up, so they count as having 1 more. They will count as having 4 fatigues, so that's 8 more defense dice, and you have the one already, so 9 defense dice. Your Hearthguard don't care, like they can just run in wherever into 8 Hearthguard of the enemy. It doesn't matter.
So that's a good point with the Hearthguard. because armor 5, it limits the number of hits you're going to be taking to start with. So it'll take 1, 2, 3, 4 hits. Those nine defense dice on 1 or 2 hits. It's going to do the job. Versus
For sure.
with the composite bow warrior, it's just a little armor 3. You'll be taking 5, 6, 7 hits, and I've flubbed those defense dice rolls where you feel so safe. You're like, well, I'm armor 3, but I got 4 defense dice, so I should be good here. And you just flub them all. So yeah, I like this ability here for sure, and gives you a little extra blanket, keeping your Hearthguard Warlord alive if they're gonna go the extra mile to try to take him out. They're probably gonna come in with a fatigue or 2, and having 3 or 5 defense dice can make or break you for sure.
And this is great value if you did put the rare onto panic, so that you ended up putting the fatigue on someone, and then you can reroll the die and put it on here somewhere. Then this is just a great way of immediately boosting your defense ability, because they will have a fatigue coming in, and you will gain 3 defense dice at least with them coming in. So that's
they're
really
gonna have to think it over again. You're like, oh yeah, sure, come on in. Got the fatigue, I got the defense dice, and then you can still spend their fatigue. You're not.
Yeah, you can.
None of these are like spending the fatigues.
No.
You still get all the benefits of the fatigues.
Yeah, you have to get the order right, so you can't spend them first and then try to kind of go back but you had a fatigue before. No, that's just not how it works. So you have to play the ability and then afterwards, or play the abilities and then afterward, just use the fatigue.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right. Now you mentioned Wolves of the Steppe here. Another uncommon melee Huns ability. If they have at least one fatigue, they gain 3 attack dice. Of course, they're going to have one figure at least. If they have at least 3 fatigues, gain 2 additional attack dice. So now these are stacking, right?
Yeah.
Or not? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, okay, 5
5
dice. That's good.
5 attack dice on a unit that has 2 fatigues, because you couldn't just get the 3rd one in, and you have played Rain of Arrows, so they count as having 1 more. This also works here, of course. 5 attack dice for a common, and the opponent will have fatigue, so you can use that to lower the armor. And attack dice, as you know, are way more powerful if you can lower the opponent's armor at the same time. Mm-hmm. So everything here just combos so well. It's incredible.
Yeah. Well, we haven't really run into a dud yet, I guess. I don't know. I wouldn't really classify anything as a dud.
No,
no, I don't think so. All of these are useful.
Yeah.
I guess I was questioning Rain of Arrows at first, but no, after seeing all these, no question.
I think you're right for questioning it. It's not always the best choice, because it's like a shadow fatigue. It's not like a real fatigue, and so many abilities on here will put a real fatigue on the enemy, and that's always going to be better than pretending they have one.
Yeah. So it's kind of like what I said. Definitely in those early turns, you'll have the die to put that on there. But turn 4 or 5, you got 4 Saga dice. You got stuff you need to do.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You'd rather just play the ability than
2
abilities than soup up 1 ability. You're going to have that choice at some point, so that makes sense. Yeah. But yeah, that's awesome. So you're exhausting units. Basically, when you go in on your first attack, you're going to exhaust the unit, and then before anything happens, exhaust it, and then charge it with a crap load of attack dice. And sounds like a viable strategy.
Yeah, absolutely. With the new fatigue bomb changes, this is going to be like, they will have to kind of adjust the Huns, in my opinion, because this just my big warrior blobs will generate 21 at least attack dice, and they will charge into a exhausted unit, and that's 21 attack dice into an exhausted unit. I will just take all that could be Hearthguard or levies. It'll
get the job done. Yeah.
They will die.
Yeah, so it's interesting. So as we're recording this, it's in December, mid-December 2022. This probably won't come out until 2023. So I think we're actually putting some mojo in the air, probably, the way that these generally work. So the Age of Invasions hasn't been fact at this point. There was a fact when it came out for the other books. The book had been out like a month or something, so it had no fact to it. So it's due a fact. And we know it's been communicated there's going to be facts coming, hopefully first quarter of 2023. So it's very possible at this point that some of these abilities we're discussing do have been fact or have something going on.
Which would be fair enough.
Yeah. So that's where we are in the lay of the land. But at this point, we do have the new edition of the rules and that fatigue bomb. Yeah. Huns get the job done. Very scary.
Yeah.
All right. Going down. Last one here. It's not powering up the Huns, unfortunately. It's powering up the levies. Uncommon or rare. Gain 6 attack dice. If you use a rare, you can reroll all your results of 1 on attack dice. So, yeah. Not too bad. Obviously, you're going to prefer it on the no special equipment guys, but if your levies count as Huns, you can juice up those javelins up to 8 attacks, and then that way you can easily get a 6. And then you mentioned the you can combo Wolves of the Steppe to max out on 16. Just you're going to lose a few dice, but just to add insult to injury to your opponent. I would do it just to break their morale at that point.
The Barbarians of the East doesn't really fit into my Hun or Steppe people build at all. I don't think I've used it once, but with the Cumans, very, very good with the Javelin levies, and also if you do it like the friend you've mentioned earlier and play the levies on horses.
Yep.
This is super good.
They're cruise missiles.
Absolutely.
I haven't played against him, but just kind of watching, popping over. I would definitely run in the levies as the first wave. You can attack with the Huns, Wolves of the Steppe, weak spot. Do some damage there, but you might not want to risk another Hun warrior unit in melee without a bunch of those defense dice. So send in the levies for round 2, or vice versa. However you want to do it. I guess for a rare, I think the rare's going to weak spot first.
Absolutely. Every time.
Then maybe activation pool, because just more activations is more shooting, more carnage. And then I guess I'd probably rather have panic than Barbarians of the East here. I mean, it's going to mathematically, you can reroll 2 dice, so there will be those turns. You get 3 or 4 or 5 rares. Sure. Load it up. But yeah. So now the horse levy and no special equipment, they got 6 attacks start. So you just easily go to 12 first turn charge. Yeah. You charge anything. You're gonna love that trade. Yeah. It's gonna be good. Okay. So
and one thing to note, I think, which is kind of funny, the levies on their horses have better armor than the warriors with composite bows, because they have armor 4 in melee, which is incredible for levies. And they're like the sword and board levies, but super quick. So that's really good.
Yeah. Even if there was armor 3, I think they'd still be just that mobility would be so worth it. But you don't have to make that call. They're armor 4. So gotta love it. And that's gonna wrap up the board here. So we didn't really talk about mercenaries. I mean, everything here works so well. You probably just want more Huns on the board. The mercs will really detract because they won't be able to pop any of these abilities unless they're loyal mercs. So like a champ or maybe a priest or whatever. But so have you dabbled with any mercs at all?
Yeah, I've tried the champion because he was quite powerful with being a Hun and having weak spots. So he could, for all this time, he could go up to like 12 attacks because he has 6 and he could easily double that.
Yeah,
which is really powerful for just a unit with determination.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, he's got good armor. You can take some hits. You're dealing out a boatload of attacks. Yeah, I love it. Just another way to do some damage without taking anything in return.
Yeah. And then two things. It's also super important to have a banner because you can in Age of Invasions and also in Crusades and Vikings. You need to have a banner on your warriors. It's because as you can see, it's very, very easy to dish out fatigue and to not gain fatigue through like fatigueless activations. But once you have fatigue, you're so screwed. That's the one thing that's going to screw you. So
you don't have anything to slough it off necessarily. Yeah. And then if you're primarily cav, then those movement shenanigans going from a long to a short can have a big impact on your battle plan. Where if you're infantry, you got a fatigue, you can kind of just do what you're going to do anyways. Probably work out, but the movement and charges will really get messed up if you have that fatigue. So that makes sense.
Yeah, and then the one merc unit I tried and I think is super worth it is the guides from Age of Invasions. Of course.
Yeah.
Of course, because the Huns, the one thing that's not fatigue that's going to screw them up is terrain. If your opponent outplays you in terrain by having 2 big pieces on the board, which you can, with 2 big pieces that
big field, big forest, big uneven hill.
Yeah, you can usually definitely make that not happen very easily, in my opinion. But if they play it well, then you always have your guides to double move around a piece of a big terrain that you do not want anymore, because they can like either take away a small piece of terrain at the end of everything, like of terrain placement, or they can move around a piece of terrain so up to 6 inches, but not within really a short.
Push that hill way off to the edge there.
Push it 12 inches away by being the one that's pushing anyway, and then do it again after everything.
Cool, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do you fare in, feasting and pillaging, at the objective scenarios? Are you just going to wipe them out and worry about the objectives?
Yeah.
at the end, is that the game plan?
Yeah, absolutely. There's no way I'm picking up any objectives as long as the opponent has figures left. So that's the battle plan. And that definitely happened, that it did not go to plan, and I just screwed that game up. But there's no way I can pick up these objectives. Like, the Huns just can't. Their levies could, but they really don't want to be outside of terrain with my build, with the small levy units. So, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Get in their face.
Yeah. So, do you have fun playing the Huns, my man?
Insane fun. This is by far the most fun warband, because by turn 2 or 3, everything's dead. Like, the Huns are completely dead, but usually they wiped the opponent as well. So I think in my opinion, this is fun for everybody. Maybe less fun for the opponent.
That's going to be my next question. Yeah.
Yeah, but there's always going to be something will happen every turn. Lots of charges, lots of stuff, and there's definitely some counterplay to these Huns. And it's not like they don't shut down any opponent. They want to fight, and they will fight, and they will come for you. And if you're not ready for that, then that's that. But I think they're very fast, very fun, and very deadly for both sides.
Mm-hmm. So your games are done quick. So it sounds like when things do go awry, it's because your opponent was equally aggressive and trying to capitalize on your armor 3 and melee.
Yeah.
I mean, that's still a huge weakness with the warriors. You've got a couple tricks up your sleeve, but one explicit ability that can save you. So is that the case? Equally aggressive opponent?
And if the opponent has a mounted army, then the game is over pretty quickly as well, because they will They don't want to sit around for a turn, because I will come in and just shoot them to death, because it just works.
It's like they have to, yeah.
They will do something, and then usually it's very
use it or lose it, yeah.
Yeah.
That's fun. All right, man. Well, thanks for jumping on here, buddy. I put out the call. You answered. I always appreciate that. I'd be curious if any folks out there run the Huns any differently from you. So you're not
I would love
fan
to know.
of those levies, perhaps, but we've seen folks over here at least. So yeah, weigh in pro or con on the levies here.
How do you make them work? Let us know, please. I'm super I need to know.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I do want to thank Terry, Patrick, Sean, Mitchell, Kevin, Scott, and also you, Tim. You are a patron at the humble levy level. I appreciate those support there, and couldn't do these additional videos without you guys. And yeah, definitely comment below. Like Tim said, tell us how you get those levies working for you, and if there's some nuance perhaps to the steppe tribes from Vikings or humans from Crusades. I feel like we're kind of mentioning them throughout. I could definitely see how those humans get a reputation now. I wasn't quite sure before what the big deal was, but you've opened my eyes, Tim.
Perfect.
To the possibilities here. Now, the downside, of course, is having to paint all these horses. What are you using for models for your Huns?
So the Fireforge has these Mongol warriors.
Yeah.
Which they look fine to me as Huns. I'm sure people will disagree, but they look totally fine to me as Huns. And then they also have the steppe tribe warriors. They're like the foot levies. They look like that. So that's what I use. Yeah. And then some cool individual metal mini to be my warlord.
Yeah, that's cool. That makes sense. Yeah, just stay away from those really giant Mongol hats, helmets, or whatever. I think you're fine. Just find a couple different heads, and you'll be good to go with those. But do you think this? What do you think? Huns versus Mongols. What's happening there? 1,000 years apart in time, but let's do that matchup. Can the Mongols keep up with the Huns there with the camel drummer? Have you done that matchup?
Yeah.
I was curious.
I have. And that's a very 50-50 matchup, because the Huns are super good at taking out key units like the warlord or like an important warrior or
camel drummer going down. Camel drummer.
Yes, but if the opponent can keep the camel drummer safe, then they usually win the game. It's so many activations, and the Huns can't they can't block that many activations. They can block 1 or 2 attacks maybe, but that's all. And after that, they just start dying.
Yeah, that's got to be an insane game. Over on turn 2.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
You got to chart. You got to whoever it is.
You're screwed.
Yeah, both of you have to go in and make it happen. So that's awesome. Okay, well, thanks again, buddy. I won't take up any more of your time.
Thank you for having me on, Rodge.
Folks, if you want another listen about the Huns, you do activation phase with JP, and you guys go over the Huns there. I love the podcast. You guys are doing great work. You guys are just plugging through all the factions, which I love. You guys are working on. Are you doing Alexander?
We are doing
right now.
Alexander.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. At first look at Alexander stuff. So I think that's awesome. Yeah. Can't wait to hear the next one. As we recorded this, the Thracian one just came out. I got it in my queue. I got some painting later today. Going to give it a listen. So I'm getting a double dose of Tim today. Love it. Wish every day was like that.
Appreciate it.
Awesome. Yeah. So folks, check that out. I've got the link below in every episode, Saga Thursday. So appreciate it once again, and we'll check you later. Hopefully we'll see you again sometime.
Thank you very much.
All right. Have a good one.
Bye.
Saga! If you'd like to see more Saga content, consider joining the Heathen Army over on Patreon, or popping on down to the Saga Thursday Discord server. Links below. Thanks, guys.